Boom, 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 boom. It's a new week. It's a Monday. Is it Monday? It is. Rumor has it. It's a Monday. We've got Sam and Tonkat and Puneet and Piotr are all here in the house. Starting with me, main thing is the MOOC is going live tomorrow, so I guess my main action item is to spend the day making sure that that goes live properly. I've got an email to send to let people know that it's going from a pure, what was it, self-paced to instructor-paced course.
It- It's self-paced, right? Or it's the
Well, it's going to be it's going to be in the middle. I'll send the email. I mean I guess we'll come back to that at the top of the once we've gone around and done the Scrum. So local support. And yeah, so the client has had a busy 2 weeks, but we should be arranging a client meeting this week. Need to show various things to her. Kickoff Tuesday tomorrow is going to be our regular thing. I guess I should make a kickoff thing maybe in the calendar. Then we've got every one or two people were potentially doing the pairing over the weekend. I'd like to give people an extension, but I worry that the peer review thing has locked us in. So we will see, and I need to prepare the sort of like AV1-2 materials for doing supporting of MOOC week 1, and then website 1. I think now that Puneet's stuff has been merged, we can maybe try and get onto the time zone. Michael and I maybe this week will fix the time zone issue. And yeah, we had a good kickoff on Friday discussing more of the domain model. I've got a meeting with Charles on Wednesday, and I've got some little bit of sticky stuff on payment testing, which I guess we'll get into. But otherwise, pretty good. Now, Tomcat's saying his microphone's very good. I assume, Tomcat, that you can hear us. It seems, I don't know, as I was saying to you, Tom, like from what we can see, it's sort of, I'm glad that you can hear us. It looks like your microphone is muted. It may be that you don't have a microphone. I mean, maybe that's the way Google does. Are you trying to turn it on and off through the Google Hangout interface? You can give me a thumbs up to indicate that you are trying to turn it. You are, okay. And I guess you're clicking that thing and nothing's happening either way. Oh well. Well, we'll do, if you want to prepare your, yeah, not to worry. We'll come back to that. Let's go on to Puneet. How are things with you, Puneet?
Yes, I'm just getting started with Monday, so I probably pick up some item from the backlog.
Sure.
But yeah, since the previous two items, I haven't made much progress on any new items in the AB
Okay.
right now.
Not to worry. So nothing blocking you, but good show.
No, nothing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's go on to Piotr. How are you doing?
So we were a bit pair programming yesterday with Terry, who is taking AV201.
102. Yep.
102. Sorry.
No
and we started on some task. I didn't click it on Pivotal Tracker, but it was about HTTP party handling errors.
Okay.
And I didn't understand a bit how should it be done, but we were like thinking about it, and we were sharing our thoughts. And I have something done, but maybe I would like to have like 5 minutes with you to explain if I'm thinking in the right direction.
Sure. Not a problem. Okay, cool. Well, let's do that. I guess we're still struggling in the background there with Tomcat. Tomcat. Yeah, I'm just trying to double check for Tomcat on the icon for unmute. We'll give one last try on this. Yeah, so let's. It sounds like I don't know. Have we got the situation potentially both Puneet and Piotr? We could have a little chat about what you're going to be working on. What's the sensible things to be working on? I'll just Tomcat's going to try another thing. Puneet, you were just asking about the pacing of the MOOC. edX is very keen to have self-paced in as much. I think that their objective is to get as many people through the course as possible. I think for them, edX is needs to get for them to sustain themselves in the long run. They need more people doing their courses, more people paying for the certificates, and so on and so forth. What I hadn't realized with their self-paced model is that the self-paced means not only are there no deadlines on the what are they called? Bloody hell. no deadlines on the assignments, but also like all of the materials are supposed to be released on day one and then available for the whole time,
Right.
which I think is not practical for us. So I'm basically, I don't think we have any other option other than to work through the materials and release them 1 week by 1 week. That's, just doesn't work any other way for us. The edX is still very keen to have this self-paced thing, and the thing kind of being an ongoing running, what have you. Anyway, so that they're going to be released weekly. But I think sensibly we will remove the deadlines from the assignments. I'm never sure that the deadlines have actually helped particularly. So we're going to do a sort of a compromise position. So then, go on.
So deadlines will be removed, but it will be the material will be released on weekly basis.
That's at least my plan at the moment. Yeah.
Okay.
I think yes. I mean, there's going to be sort of an implicit. Then there's a question about what we're doing with I forgot what it's called now. The peer review and how that affects things. But so actually, if we just go here, so your potential. So Puneet, you're potentially looking for a new thing to work on
Yes.
Agile Ventures. So this, you might be interested in this one here. This event edits, losing
Yes.
the state about the days there. So that's something to consider. I mean, there is the whole events thing potentially needs some serious refactoring, but so you might anyway. That's certainly something that you could have a little look into. Was there other things that, let's have a quick look down here. The members directory, that the filter by order is random. Yeah, I mean, I would say in some ways the things to particularly look for are UX bugs. I think things that impact what the users experience are some of the most important things to sort out. But
Sure.
cool. Okay, we'll just check in with Tomcat again. So Tomcat, you're just Tomcat. You have found this mute microphone button in the Hangout. You can see that mute microphone button in the Hangout. You can put your thumb up to indicate that you have.
Sam, I got a drop off actually.
Okay, all right. We'll catch you later. Bye for now.
Bye.
Okay.
Bye, Piotr.
And so Tomcat, are you clicking? You can see that mute microphone button, and I guess when you click it, just nothing happens. There's also this thing for selecting microphone. So you've got settings, and then you can choose which microphone you use, which is another way to get things working. The other thing also to try is to just The other thing to do is also to reload the Hangout. So if you do like refresh the browser and re-enter the Hangout, sometimes that sorts things out. Anyway. Yeah, it's interesting that in my view it shows you as muted, and usually that's because the mute's on. Anyway, let's go over to looking at the local support project with Piotr. So Piotr, you were saying you were looking at.
Hey, I just like in the second I just make a pull request. Okay.
Oh, okay.
To you.
Okay. So now, Tomcat, I can ask Tong then. What I presume, are you on a Windows machine? No. What kind of machine are you on? Are you on Ubuntu or OS X? You're running Linux. Okay. Arch Linux. Fair enough. Yes. So the thing what you should be able to do is you could try doing, in a browser, you can do Control R, which is like reload the browser, which will restart the Hangout. There you go. There we go. So yeah, so you're able to restart there. So sometimes if you're switching over to a different microphone, then restarting is the way to go. It is still muted. I mean, I would say that the question is, well, what you might want to do is share your screen and show me what you see when you go to the microphone settings here. Does it give you any options? Can you see the little green dots there? if you want to share your screen, there's a green button here. So you mouse over the Hangout, and it goes to the left-hand kind of nav bar, and that says Screen Share. And then if you click that, it will give you, well, actually, I was on Screen Share, but if you click that, it will give you kind of a pop-up, another window, which will, offer you which screen to share. Yes. So I think I can then see your. Let's see. Let me move mine over here. So I can see. So there, yeah, you're looking. So if you click on your, your screen is showing now, Tong. So if you click on the, no, it's a microphone. It says microphone not working. Interesting. What if you click? If you click on the, and then got to click settings there. Okay, microphone. And it says microphone problems. Hangouts can't use a selected microphone. Yeah. So I mean, given that you're on Linux, yeah, that's complicated. Which kind of browser are you in? Are you in Chrome or Firefox or what have you? You're in Chrome. I mean, so one other things you might try upgrading to a newer version of Chrome, and I mean that's the kind of thing that we may not be able to solve now, but there's I would be looking at Arch Linux, Chrome, microphone issues, and that's something that would need to be yeah, there we go. Google Chrome access to microphone. So it's the kind of thing that might have to be debugged. Anyway, so I guess Tomcat, did you want to give us a little report? Did you just do some programming? Hey, no problem at all. I was trying to fix you up. It was worth a try. Did you do any pair programming over the weekend? If you want to just write a little report of what's going on with you or what you're interested in, in the group chat, then we can get you to work. I guess you may be looking for a pair programming partner. We will see. Let's yes, okay, right. Well, let's go on to Piotr. We'll just have a look at this. So okay, so you've added something here about, so this is related to this particular story. So this is the local support project. Well, so Tong's asking what needs to be done. Basically, in order for everyone to, you need to kind of hook up with somebody to do some pair programming. So, for example, Piotr's here, and he's working on the local support project. So potentially, you could hook up with him. Why don't you just sort of sit back and see what Piotr and I chat about here, and then maybe there'll be a chance for you to do some pairing a bit later on. Okay. Yeah, so you've been working on. So you had some questions, Piotr. Go ahead.
So first of all, the question was that is it like a simple error handling, or we need to also ensure that there is a certain HTTP status? Because I'm not sure if I understand right this description here.
Right. Yes. Well, and this is an interesting, chore that we've got here for these things. This is, I guess, here. If we look at this chore, so this was created by Jean-Pierre Bernard, who got involved a bit last year and hasn't been involved much recently. And so we were working on the HTTP party for the Do It API, and he observed, and he was sort of coming from a place of, I don't know. I often find with older, more traditional programmers, they're very keen on sort of like things like correctness and handling all of the different kinds of error conditions and so on and so forth. And that's great and everything, but I worry sometimes that detracts from just actually delivering things, or you're kind of anticipating that errors might occur before you know how frequently those errors occur or how important they are. So I'm a little bit skeptical of this chore in some ways. Although if we find the relevant piece of code, so it's this one. So this is where HTTP party gets used. So the place at which so we've basically got this situation where the HTTP request is made, and I guess the initial nature of this is that the idea is potentially that request returns an HTTP level code that should be equal to 200 when there isn't any error. HTTP throws an exception for other kinds of errors that should be rescued. So I guess the idea that Jean-Pierre has had here is he's thinking, well, sometimes this is going to fail, right? So we should kind of catch that error state. Like if it's not a 200, then we will need to stop doing this, and we'll need to pass back the error. And originally, this HTTP request, the whole thing was being done online, if you know what I mean. Like in the Hacker Community Network, when we went to the volunteer ops, like so, it was making that request immediately, and so it was sort of doing it every time a person looked at the page. And so in principle, if there was an error, maybe these green ones would not show up, and we would need to like sort of adjust and adapt accordingly. However, since then we've changed the architecture so that we now store all of these things from the doit system in our local database. We cache them in our local database. So when we load here, we don't hit the HTTP party stuff at all.
Yeah, it's run only when it's populated, like by a rake task.
Exactly. So we have a rake task, which import doit, that basically hits it, and we have this set up to run once every 24 hours. So there's an extent to which actually I kind of feel, and maybe I'm wrong, but I kind of feel like actually this is kind of redundant. Like we could set it up so that, okay, this will, instead of let's say that this had a 403 error, or what have you. My guess at the moment is that this would just bubble up. Like, so for example, say that I just ran. Let's just actually test it, rather than guessing. But so my guess at the moment, if we're in local support and I'm in here, and let me just check out develop, like so, and then say I was to run the task, but what I'll do is let's imagine that something's been introduced that's a problem like this, and then to run the task I want to do rake db import doit. So we'll do here be rake db import doit, like so. So this is, I'm trying to sort of simulate the fact where the server might be down there. So we get this error, right? Which is this is failed to open TCP connection to happy doit.org. So what's happened is we've had a lower level error kind of bubble up from underneath HTTP. And what you could argue is, well, that error's come up. This HTTP get. I mean, I want to jump to it and go get HTTP party. Potentially throws some sorts of errors. I don't know if they've got custom errors.
They have.
Yeah. So I mean, we could be. Well, I mean, in this case, this error is not a custom error. This is just a socket error. So this is I assume that's a lower level thing. So I guess there's an argument to say, okay, well, we should maybe, rather than letting the error bubble up from the bottom, we should create a custom error, so that instead of socket error failed to open TCP connection, we could catch that error, and then we could rethrow our own custom error that says, we don't recognize this thing. But to be honest, it seems like more complexity than is needed. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So you say that probably this task, this chore, is not necessary.
Yeah, I think that's where I'm saying I'm kind of cautious about that, because it seems like it should be good to take care of all of the different error cases, but it seems to me like that when we're in a situation here where this has been running, I'm not aware of there being any errors. The system seems to be updating. Nobody's complaining about it, and it almost seems like, although this might be an interesting task in terms of a programming thing, I'm not sure that it's actually providing any value to the customer. I'm just what I'm gonna do there, I'm just gonna pop that in here. And Tong was asking about the repo for this, which I'm just gonna give to him, which is, so we've got local support. This is the project here. Local support there. Puneet's back. Hey, Puneet, good to see you. Oh, well done, Tong. Puneet, I think Tong is looking for pair programming opportunities. If you have any availability today. Anyway, but Tong's starting to look at the local support project, and maybe Piotr might have some time for him. But anyway, are you free or interested in doing some pairing today, Puneet?
On the website one for sure, but I'm still trying to restrict myself. I'll eventually will get involved in local support, but I don't think now is the time.
Oh, sure. No, well, absolutely. But so yeah, it was more depending upon which out of you two had the most time. And I think I wasn't suggesting, Puneet, that you get involved in local support today particularly, but there's also website one, and yeah. So anyway, I'll leave that for you guys. Anyhow, let's go back to the issue which we were on, which was here. So I guess I'm going to put in here. I wonder if we really need all this. Below is an example of an error bubbling up. We would see this in the logs anyway. So yeah. That's I mean, it's somewhat unfortunate if you and Terry have put some time into this. I mean, particularly if you put coding time. I think thinking about it is a good thing. I think there's a very interesting question here about. I think this is kind of one of the quintessential, one of the most important things about coding and so on. Is there's so much coding work that you can do, but the question always is that coding work actually going to do something to help the customer? Or is it going to help the customer indirectly by making the software more secure or more performant or more maintainable? And in this case, I'm kind of I'm not sure. Do you know what I mean? But yeah. don't. I mean, I may be wrong. Well, what do you think?
I think you're right, but I just wanted to try to do that because I'm not great in exceptions, and I wanted to understand also how should I implement it, how should I test it, and so on. So yeah, but if you say that it's not necessary, I can certainly understand it. But still, it was there up for grabs on the list, and quite high.
Yes, absolutely. Well, and I mean that points actually there to issues that. For failure on my part, in that I think we still have things on here, like we talked about in the kickoff, making it so that the things at the top of the backlog would be higher priority. But so, I think we got down as far as this is. Yeah, we moved several out, but then the rest of this list has not necessarily been pruned out completely. So I think maybe sensibly this one, that's features rather. Let's open the icebox and address that failing. And my apologies for it. I mean, given that you're interested in working on that kind of thing, there's still room for that kind of stuff. I guess the thing I was going to say there about error checking is that the way to test it is you can check that errors have been raised under certain circumstances. So if we look at the way in which
what I experience in this error raising is that with RSpec sometimes when I was handling errors and the flow was going further and RSpec didn't said to me that there was no error raised.
Okay, interesting. Yeah.
I'm not sure if I did something wrong, but still.
Yeah, I mean the errors, tend to stop the flow of execution in odd ways, and so so certainly something that's good to have practice with. In this situation, the way that we've got this, no, not that one. The way we've got this service set up is that we actually pass in the HTTP model. So what we can be doing here is we can test this, and we could be writing a test where we basically created, our own HTTP party that always threw a certain kind of error, and yeah, that would be then, a way in to explore. Yes. So I think from my point of view, what would be great would be to find something that allowed you to explore that thing that you're interested in, but that might also have more direct benefit to the client. Although what I was just doing here actually was I was having a look at what I wonder, of course, is, we've got air brake set up. If we had been having errors with this import process, I'm not sure, whether we'd necessarily hear about it. I mean, I'd hope that we would. But so if I look, and that's sort of the logs for local support there, I'm not seeing that. If I go and have a look at Heroku, we go and have a look at the dashboard, we can maybe see, let's go and have a look for the apps. So I think the local support production is in here. And so we've got, what have we got? We've got a scheduler here. We're going to have a look at the scheduler. And this is what, and I think we're not getting extra information there about, I mean, it says that it ran, but we're not getting any information about the log specifically. It's running each day at 1 p.m. UTC. So I mean, there's a quest. I mean, in some ways, if we go back to here, question is, are we ever receiving errors from running this? Not sure that air brake will cover rake tasks. So there's kind of a, it's an interesting thing here, because like at the moment the client is not complaining about, an absence of up-to-date things in it. I mean, I can imagine at some point in the future that, say that a volunteer opportunity gets published on Do It, and they look for it here and it doesn't show up. But they would say, why is that not there? And we would only then find out about the error at that time. However, there's this kind of like path of least resistance to the extent that the client is, I mean, this might seem like terribly cutting corners, but it's sort of, it looks like it's working at the moment. But there is, a question mark there. Like, I guess what we, following up on this, the thing to do would be to, watch the run at this time and trail the Heroku logs at that time to check if there's anything going on, and that would then, we would see that it ran fine. Yeah. So, I guess the action item there probably is that what we should do now, certainly to avoid something like that in future, is just do a quick review of the items in the backlog to see if we can find you something else that meets those you're interested in working in, but making sure that also that things that are perhaps not directly going to supply value to the client have been moved into the back. So there's this one. So I think we looked at these other ones. This one, and Maroen, I think he's working on this, and he's put a pull request into that one. So that's kind of it in flight. It hasn't been started though. I'm going to put Maroen on that because he has. Can I click? He started work on it. Am I not?
There was problem because if it's not yet rated, there's unestimated, then you cannot.
We cannot start it. That's interesting. Okay, and that's sort of the side effect of one of those things. Well, I think we won't necessarily go into a long voting on that, but let me at least put Maroen as the owner on that. Yes. So do we need a rake test for DB seed? I think we've had various problems with rake DB seed failing and preventing new programmers new developers getting set up. So I think that's possibly there. I've got this remove all view specs. I guess the thing here is to investigate how this affects our coverage, but it's the interesting thing here is I guess there's a danger of it being kind of like a religious thing. Like in my mind, I think coming back to the local support project after not having been able to spend or having more time for the local support project and having worked with a lot of systems that don't have view specs, I was kind of like, oh, we've got to get rid of all those view specs in order to clean the project out. But it's I think what you end up with legacy projects is it's dangerous to try and wholesale move the code base over to your new way of thinking. Does that make any sense to anyone?
Yeah, I understand that you have doubts.
yeah. Well, as you're learning on a week basis, there's a particular kind of doubt that I have here. What I know what I've tended to do is, I learn new things about the architecture of projects and of the software code bases and so on. And then I kind of come back to one of my projects before and I say, oh, right, well, we shouldn't have used view specs, or we shouldn't, we need services, or what have you. And I want to kind of take the old code base and migrate it so that it's kind of all following the new way of what I think is like the latest, best way to do things. And I think what I've realized over time is it's very difficult to mutate old code bases to a new way of doing things, unless you're doing it step by step. And in some ways, the danger with this major refactoring or what have you is that, like, just by spending the time to remove all the view specs is not going to actually deliver anything of immediate value to our customer. Mm-hmm. It might improve like make it easier to change things, but in some ways almost like I almost thinking here is like maybe like or just remove them one by one as they fail. So, rather than it being a big task that we like do in a big go, like, oh, let's get rid of all the view specs, what we do instead is we kind of just, as they come up, we have our new policy that, well, rather than spending too much time to fix them, we just kind of remove them. So anyway, yes, I have to be careful because I will end up talking too much. So confusing language in some emails, I think that's quite important. You were working with Zmago on the, I think, being able to edit the emails. That's really valuable. We've got that somewhere. WebKit browser deprecation. Okay, that's just like dealing with random tests in our thing. I guess it's not highly important. Let's try and get the important ones in here. Edit organization needs validation of flash error messages. Okay, so that's something that Maroen is working on, so I'm just going to put him in there as the owner. Yeah, I guess what we'll need to do tomorrow in the kickoff is like vote on a lot of these things. Refactor case statement. So that would be there's a bit of really gnarly code there that really could do with refactoring. That's something that investigate if we can get a list of up for grab pivotal tasks. That I think not highly important. We've got SEO ambiguity and flow between invited registered users in admin screens. Yes. Public use. Okay. Geocode log messages in test code. I wonder if that's been fixed. Yeah. So I mean, I think that's a bit of a cleanup there. But so the watchword there is yeah.
Okay, don't worry. I don't need so many.
No, sure. No. What I'm trying to come up to a summary there, which is that. So in the kickoff, we decided, yes, let's try and make it so that the backlog is ordered so the higher priority ones are at the top, and we said also let's try and get the votes, points in on there. Obviously, we haven't quite got there yet. So hopefully over the course of the next couple of kickoff meetings, we will both get the backlog. What we'll need to do is clear out the stuff from the backlog that's not so high priority, vote on things so that we know the difficulty, and then start reviewing the icebox and actually pulling in things from here that are high priority. So unfortunately, it takes a little time. But
the kickoff is tomorrow after the stand-up of Ken Beck.
Yes, that's the plan. And maybe what I shall do is I will actually make that a specific event. So let's have this as the local support retro kickoff, and the time for that. So this is going to be a Scrum, and it's for the local support project. Yeah, that's that one. And so retrospective on the last week and kickoff for the next week on local support, and we'll put that to be repeats weekly on Tuesdays. We'll have it end never. Just, you know, because we just it's local support forever. Yeah,
That's forever.
forever. And that's going to be then at it's going to be at 4 p.m. UTC. I think yes. Okay, I think that's it. So we'll save that, and that's now in the events list. So yes. Okay, so we should have that. So that will be yes, yeah, just after the Kent Beck tomorrow. All right.
Okay.
There we go. Good stuff. So anything else that we need to work out at all?
No, I'm also in this AV 102 peer review. So is it on or not yet?
Well, so the peer review, yes, and of course, thanks so much for doing the AV 102. And this peer review thing is a bit of an experiment and so on. Now, as if we go into AV 102, let's have a little look. So I think that in principle, if you've submitted your element, and that's my test area here, so this will now, like I didn't put a response in. I guess if you guys go to this page, if you have previously,
I have now information that it will be available on 25th on Wednesday.
Oh, really? Okay, that's interesting. What I tried to do over the weekend was set up to give people an extension to put more, to give people more time to do their pair programming. But the response that I got from the edX system said, "Oh, you can't do that with published things." So I wasn't sure if it actually worked. But do you want to just share your screen, Piotr, and show me what you see? This is the experimental part of it, and why. Apologies to everyone.
It's like that.
Let's see. Okay, here we go. And it says peers available 25th. Okay. And in principle, if and I can still submit as well. So there has been an extension. I had assumed from the error message that the edX gave me that my attempt to extend the deadline for the pair programming assignments had kind of failed. That's interesting. If we go and look at the unit in the studio, the other thing that I'm wondering is can the peer review start earlier? So this is, by the way, this is the sort of back end of the peer review system. So this is like the rubric and so on, and then it should have on the settings give us the dates here. So I've pushed the response due date to Tuesday to give people more time. There's also this thing about when the peer assessment can start, and so I pushed that to Wednesday. And I guess maybe we should. Will it let me?
You can experiment because it's experimental.
Yeah. So see, if I do so this is the thing here. This is what I saw on Friday. This is me. It says there. This problem has already been released. Any changes will apply only to future assessments. However, it seems like the change that I made did apply, and it also looks. I wonder if it lets the peer reviewing.
But maybe they are like doing that in the way that it cannot harm us.
Oh, I think we just lost Piotr there. Well, I'm tempted there. But so Puneet hey,
I'm back.
And you're back. You're back. It sounded like something fell on you there, but it's good to have you back. So yeah, it seems like, well, I mean, this is one of the things with the edX system is, I mean, I used this peer review stuff before when it was in experimental mode, and now it's been pulled into the system, and it's whole usability issues here. Goodness. I'm just going to click publish on that. What I would be interested to see, actually, Piotr, is if you refresh, if you share your screen again and refresh that page and see if the peer review thing is now enabled for you. Aha.
Yeah.
And it looks like it is. Okay, so that's very interesting, because what it seems like what we can actually allow is people to carry on submitting what are they called? Their pair programming assignment, I think. Let me reload here. Reload this page. Ah, wrong one. Let's go back over here. And yeah, in principle, it looks like we can have overlapping. People can be submitting their, carry on submitting their, what is it called? Their assignment, but other people can start doing the peer review earlier, which is a very interesting development. Okay, so I think in which case, I mean, what I'm probably going to do is extend that even further. Anyway, I should let the AV102 people know. That's very helpful, Piotr. Thank you so much for looking at that with me. That's going to be really useful for the main MOOC, I believe. Okay, so anything else we should work out now?
I don't think so.
Yeah. Well, so, and I don't know if so Piotr or Puni, if you've got any time for pair programming today, if you might be interested in having Tong, helping out Tong Kiat, and I think he doesn't have microphone, but there is the chat. Do either of you have any free time coming up?
So maybe now.
Ah, okay, great. Well, I'll tell you
now.
Yeah.
Tong, are you now available?
It sounds like he is. Oh, it sounds like so Tong, and you haven't done homework 3 yet. So well, ideally one would do a voting on the story. I guess yeah, if you haven't done that, Tong, we should probably just do that quickly. Let me put the screen back up here. Boom, 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 and press the buttons. What? No.
Maybe let's do it for the feature or task that we will be working now on.
That would be a sensible thing to do, wouldn't it? Yes, yes. So I wonder. So we've got now. Let's have a look. We've got all of these different chores and things which can be voted on. This is a new sort of experiment that we're trying, Tong, with having bugs and chores be voted upon. We've got let's, if we have a look at the features only here. We've got more features down here. This one might. Well, it's interesting. Is that really even a feature? That looks like that actually looks like a chore to me. Let's just move that out of there. Okay. Oh, this would be a great one. Oh, well. Let me. It's low priority, but I think this is kind of quite a nice one. So this is something. So we've got here categories could be linked to search for that category.
Okay.
So we've got in the main system, if we go to the home page, we can see that we can do search via category for different. We've got these. This is the UK government specifies these official categories that charities fall into. And if we go and have a look at the individual organization, we can see that it has a list of the categories, like so. And just something that I was thinking would for a long time. I have to say, it hasn't been really explicitly requested by the customer, but I think it's the kind of I have mentioned it to the customer before, and I think they're happy for us to do it. Is that so? Here we've got health. What we could have is if you clicked on health, there, it would take you to the list of. It would effectively do this, like it would take you to this page, and you would then see all of the other organizations that were related to health in the area.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, perfect sense.
And it's sort of
yes.
Yeah, I'm kind of thinking of that. And part in general, if the client hasn't explicitly requested on something, then maybe we don't want to necessarily force it on them. At the same time, in terms of having the system allow you to browse and discover things, it seems almost like so easy that it's just worth, or it should be relatively easy, worth doing. So I would sort of, as a member of the public, so that I can easily find. This is member, I guess, you know, or what's it called? I'm admin of an organization, so that I can easily find other organizations in the same category. I would like to be able to click through on an org's category is to get a search for those kinds of orgs. I mean, I'm not very, not hugely proud of this description. We want to try and have the higher level description. Ideally, we would want to be validating these kinds of things with user studies and so on. But it's kind of since there's an aspect here in which we've got this domain model of the relationships between categories and organizations and so on. And part of having created the domain model is being able to expose that through the interface to allow different users to browse different aspects of it. So anyhow, any questions at all about this feature?
Not yet.
No. Okay. Cool. Tong, any questions? Feel free to ask it. Great. So let's take this and let's have a little vote on this. So I've got the URL of the story. What we'll all need to be in the local support thing here. So I'll just invite Tong.
Slack was not working actually, so I'll probably vote here in the Google chat.
Okay. Right. Indeed. So interestingly, Puneet, can you not use Slack through the web interface?
No, actually, that is also
really. They managed to block Slack also through the web interface, but I'm
yes.
Right. They have the site itself blocked. Interesting.
Yes.
Very very interesting. Okay. Well, yes. So there we go. So voting on. Okay, so yeah, so we'll have Puneet's vote in the other window there. So what we're going to do now is we're going to type in possibly 0 or 1 or 2 or 3 into here. Not press return yet. The idea is that we're getting the story voted on its complexity. So 0 would be like it's just such a trivial change. I mean that would be almost like changing over an icon and there was no test associated with it. 1 point would be just a question of like a small change to the view, maybe with some associated tests and so on. 2 points would be like there's a database change or there's a gem involved. 3 points, there's a couple of gems, ones that we haven't never used before, big database changes, so on and so forth. So if we get our Slack, or in Puneet's case, his group chat ready, and what we're going to do is we're going to type in that number, was it 1 or 2 or what have you, and not press return until I say go. So I'm just going to go off here on my screen and think about what we should say that should be, and then I'm going to count down and go 3, 2, 1, go. Aha! So we've got Pedro and Tong are in a 2. Puneet has somehow got Slack access as well. And it's evened it up. So we've got a group of us doing 1 versus 2. I guess what I'm going to do there is I'm maybe going to pick on Pedro or Piotr and say, so Piotr, tell us your thinking behind it being a 2 rather than a 1.
So I think that maybe it's not so difficult, but maybe the tests will need some time to do that. So that's why I thought it's not so a 1, because I'm not sure about how many tests and how complicated will they be. If there are steps already defined or not. So probably we'll be using acceptance tests mostly for that. But the task, I don't think it's really complicated. It's just I'm not sure about the test.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. Indeed. Well, that's a perfectly reasonable point. And I think you're right. That, I mean, if we just quickly look at the code base, I mean, the changes would need to be made if we look at them are basically going to be in the view. So we've got the view for the organizations page, and if we look at it's going to be the show. We've got like a little show partial here for the. Don't move things around. No. Is we've got the categories here. So we've got at the moment, we're currently doing. We're grabbing from the org's categories like a subset and joining them together. And what we would want to do, at the moment, we're getting like an array, and then we're just joining them with a comma. And so what we would need to be making some sort of change here, possibly making a helper method to turn these categories into the right kind of hyperlink there. And then, it would be, I guess, the place for the acceptance tests would be in the individual charity page. We've got charity page feature, which looks at, but then we've got a categories feature. So we've got show categories by type, and then so for these things we could have checking that they're hyperlinks rather than just that we're seeing the name there, and possibly creating a separate feature to say I can navigate through the categories. So I mean, I think if you and Tom are working on it, I'd be happy to give it a 2 based upon your not being so sure about it, and we can see how it goes. What do you think, Puneet? Should we concede to their 2, and then we'll see how they go?
I think it looks more likely as 1 because it's actually during the course Engineering Software Service Part 1. I've seen this redirection as a part of assignment and it looked quite much. I'm not saying that it's very straightforward, but it's a lot related to redirection and adding right parameters in the URL. Okay, so
yes, indeed, and I think you're right, and I think it is quite similar to the some of the things that were being done in the early part of the course. But of course, remember that in the course, at that point when you were working with the Rails thing on the assignment 1 or whatever it was, or 2, that doesn't have any acceptance testing involved.
Right.
And so I think what I would be tempted to do is to let Tong and Piotr get started on this is let's kind of agree to say 2 at the moment, and then what would be the interesting thing is then once they've completed it, for them to tell us, well, in retrospect, was it a 2 or was it a 1? And that's the way to go, rather than worrying too much about getting the exact vote right. How does that sound?
Sounds okay.
Great. Okay. Well, there we go. We've got that voted on there. So then, so basically, Tong, you've got what you need there. That's the link for that. We've got that in there. I'll pop it in here just as well. We've also got the YouTube link as well. That's you'll need for your homework 3 assignment. And well, I guess what we'll do is we'll wrap up this broadcast there. Piotr and Tom, you're both in the same channel. Yeah, if you want to start pairing now,
we'll make another session for that.
Yeah, okay? create another session. What I'll do is I'll stop the broadcast there.